Hello, people. As I previously mentioned, I am feeling that this latest transit of Pluto into the gate 60 has really brought me down to the kind of grittiness of life all of a sudden, at least my focus. And some of that theme I think will be in this video. I'm focusing on this specific Law of One quote. As I've said before, I don't like to actually quote the relevant Law of One passage, and the reason for this is that in line with the law of free will, which is something that the Law of One talks about, I don't want to quote a source as though it's the absolute truth in a sense, and in a way that can't be denied. If I just put the number up here and I talk about it in general, then I've probably got it right. I haven't definitely got it right. There's nothing that you're sort of compelled to believe in a sense, even lightly. But I'm putting the number of the quote up because at the same time, I did derive some of these ideas from this relevant quote, and I don't want to imply that they're just random ideas. I do want a little bit of backing in what I'm saying. The relevant part of this quote here is that the Law of One contact was kind of discussing how they see the world. I think that's very interesting, how this angelic figure sees the world, what they experience. We won't ever be able to have a good understanding of that, I don't think, but little insights are welcome. And they were talking about a society in the past where they were being called, as they say it. So people were praying, in a sense, perhaps only inwardly, perhaps not even specifically praying, but whatever they were doing, it was a casual thing like that that made the entity believe that their help was being requested. They were asking for help on some level. So the contact arrived and they have things that are relevant to them. They didn't feel that they were able to help the society, help the people that were asking, until a kind of mathematical point had been crossed. There was a certain amount of people that needed to be saying it because there was opposition, and under the law of free will, the opposition, the people that were resisting this help coming, even on an emotional level, had to be considered. The specific term used for the opposition, on the emotional level, remember, to the moving forward positively of the society and the helping of the people that were requesting it, was that there are those unwilling to search or learn. And I think this is a very big theme lately. The general term of those unwilling to search and learn means the resistance that a lot of people have to things moving forward positively, to however that would manifest, is having a very strong effect on the energetics of the world. And also, I tend to think that the world that we are seeing at the moment is a kind of massive chess game or a massive game theory type of situation, where those people are considered and various stresses are deliberately placed upon them in order for them to be more sure of what their decision is in life. I hope I'm not being too opaque. I think I probably am being a little opaque. But what it makes me think of is, say you have a person that is really down on their luck, things have gone badly, the society is very poor, and then this person prays and really wants to move forward positively, and a few of the people around them obviously pray and have a generally positive attitude. Then that person becomes a business leader, they get money from outside of the village that they're in, say, and they become more successful and they help everyone around them, and that is the result of them having prayed and positive entities giving them this idea. You will obviously get a lot of people then that are jealous of this person, and those are the kind of people, and that is the kind of energy that would oppose the normal moving forward of our society. And like I said, I think there is a strong element of game theory here, or chess moving. And I think one of the things that happens is when people are offered a truth, they might turn against that truth, but then the truth might come along later in a different form. So, say there's an issue with immigration that shows that the government is very, very corrupt, but someone doesn't want to look at that. Their political beliefs stop them looking at that. Okay, so you've rejected that option. Then another option which shows government corruption, which is also obvious. Truths will express themselves in different ways. Another issue in relation to government corruption, such as, say, a corrupt medical system that screws over that person or his family or whoever. It's like, are you going to accept this truth now or not? You didn't accept it in relation to immigration, but are you going to accept it in relation to medical situations? And this is a bit of an annoyance that I've had. I liked bringing in this point about people unwilling to search or learn, but it also comes from this queer annoyance that I have, and I will explain this now. I follow quite closely a woman named Pearl Davis. I find that she's very, very intelligent, very, very articulate, and she says a lot of things about real life that me, as someone that's a bit of a hermit, wouldn't know. So one of the things that she talks about is women that go into the church because they've slept around a lot, and then they have these kinds of personality issues, say, because they have slept around so much. And then you have the different ways guys relate to this. They're the pimps and the simps. And these are things that I just wouldn't reflexively know. I'm not a massively social person, so I'm lacking a bit there. And she just says things that I didn't know. She makes loads of really, really good connections, and it brings me insights into my life and things I've experienced. This is a good example. This is a very good example, because this is something that I wouldn't have ever understood about people, but now I understand it from watching her material. Pearl says that the reason a lot of guys come for her when she says things that she does, which you would classify as being on, say, the red pill manosphere, maybe the black pill, it's clear why women don't like it, but men often don't like it because you get these guys that are kind of simpy, kind of blue pill, which is a term to characterize the mainstream view of things, and they don't want to believe that the girl they're with has been as debauched, as sexual as she probably has. And they don't want to believe that in general female nature is like that. I don't know if we call it female nature. I don't know what is real in this world and what has been propagandized or messed up from whatever reason. But this attitude from guys of wanting to turn away from this information is a very, very strange thing to me. I don't know how I amassed so much information and so much general second-hand experience about the way the world is. As I've previously explained, I have had bad medical problems. My experience with women is not non-existent, but it is not high. But even though I can't follow up, I do get flirted with, and I have very often been flirted with because I look quite good. Women see the package, they don't know that I have no money, unemployed, and a bunch of other problems, including disability, low energy. They don't know any of that stuff, of course. So when they see me, when they're casually chatting with me, perhaps there's a difference. I don't know. But when I just talk about general experience, I get these simpy guys on Twitter and such outrightly arguing, saying that my experience, the thing that I just repeated, which wasn't something that I knew to be aware of, Like, it wasn't something that I knew was an issue. I'll just say, this thing happened. And it's not something that I apply any significance to. But then these guys will absolutely tear into me, being like I'm lying and stuff. And it's the most bizarre thing. And these examples that I bring up, one of the examples was that when I was working in the food bank, this did happen. There was a girl there. She was 20, 22. She was red haired. She was kind of lovely, but I felt that I should reflexively avoid her despite the sweetness. There's just a sense I got. She had a boyfriend. She was building a bar in her own house. She was a real party girl. And one of the things that she repeated, I live in a very debauched town, right, was that she'd been to a party and through one of the doors there were a bunch of 20-year-old naked girls dressed only in glitter. She was not lying. She would have no reason to lie. This kind of thing wasn't significant. It isn't significant in the town that I live in. I knew a friend that once told me that she could never go out without being offered cocaine. I once walked down the road with my sister that was 12 to 14 at the time, and a bunch of guys tried to hit on her. And I had a close friend who did all the things that stereotypical chads do and had the experiences of women behaving like they do. I've had women screw me over. I mean, this stuff happens, and these guys are just so determined not to believe it. It's weird. And even just other places on the internet, you hear these stories, you know they're true. You hear these stories from guys that talk about women on Twitter. They blow off steam on Twitter at all the degraded things that they're doing as well. You know they're true. There's just a feel to it. And like I said before, why would I lie about casually knowing a girl, chatting with a girl at a food bank of all places, who told me that she went to a party like that? It doesn't talk about my sexual prowess. I have literally nothing to gain from it. And these aren't always in the middle of heated discussions either. These are just points that I make. One point I made that was not about the party and wasn't in the red pill discussion area. I just said, yeah, this happened to a friend of mine. And the guy was like, oh, no, it didn't. And anyway, as I said, with the example that the person turns away from the immigration concern, then they turn away from the medical concern, I think this is a big part of the area that is forcing people into a new way of looking at things. I think the behavior of just turning away from something when you don't want to look at it is something that's getting pushed through in this red pill sphere. There's lots of things related to this that I have thought through at various times, such as if people display some of these passive aggressive characteristics, where does it show up in the chart? What is the long-term effect? Is there an obvious karmic pushback? And I do think that people like that tend towards gossip, and I do think that the gossip changes their behaviour in little ways, and then I think they do get pushback, strong pushback. But right now, there isn't really much more I have to say than just what I've said. So, thank you for listening.